Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024. As we mentioned in our last half hour with Major General Paul Vallely, the southern border is a huge, huge component for our national security. And right now, and for the past year and a half, and for actually years long before that, the southern border has become a sieve for human trafficking, drug trafficking, weapons trafficking, a sieve leading to murder, and death, and destruction. My next guest actually was targeted by the drug cartels because they saw him as a freedom fighter and an ambassador for freedom. Victor Avila is a retired supervisory special agent with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, so-called ICE, Homeland Security Investigations, and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. ICE enforces federal laws governing border control, customs, trade, and immigration to promote homeland security and public safety. Victor Avila has been recognized by ICE and Homeland Security Investigations for his exemplary service and professional accomplishments while serving as a special agent at the El Paso field office. Victor served as an accredited diplomat and liaison, conducting international complex criminal investigations in a wide range of violations such as narcotics trafficking, arms trafficking, human trafficking and smuggling, financial violations, commercial fraud, and counterterrorism. While on official assignment in Mexico, Special Agent Avila suffered multiple gunshot wounds at the hands of the cartels. By the way, those weapons were provided by Obama and Biden and Eric Holder, the then Attorney General, through their fast and furious weapons running operation. Victor suffered multiple gunshot wounds and survived a violent ambush by the Mexican Los Zetas drug cartel where his partner, Special Agent Jaime Zapata, tragically lost his life. Now, Victor has written a book entitled Agent Under Fire. The website, agentunderfirebook.com. Victor also has a website, Victor of Avila, A-V-I-L-A, Victor Avila, speaks.com, and Victor Avila TX, Texas, TX.com. And by the way, Victor is a very humble, modest person. Recent legislation was named in honor of Victor and his partner, Jaime Zapata, that focuses on the safety and security of law enforcement and every American. It's my honor to welcome back to our platform our good friend, Victor Avila. Victor, welcome back to the Operation Freedom show and platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me back, Dave. It's especially on this Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Victor, educate our listeners on that legislation that was just passed by Congress, signed into law, and oh, by the way, the guy's name who's on it, Victor Avila, and the family of the guy who died, Jaime Sabata, was not invited to the signing ceremony by Biden. Educate our listeners on the legislation.
Well, the unfortunately, the legislation was needed because two of the shooters that went to trial and were found guilty of murder, attempted murder of an internationally protected person, and weapons charges appealed their sentence to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, specifically saying that the murder statute used to convict them should not have been used because the murder happened extraterritorially, meaning outside of the United States. And, of course, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals agreed with them and dismissed the murder charge. This was 2 years ago. I wasn't going to allow that to happen, so I get on the phone and start contacting every congressman and senator that I know. The Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association was great in helping me with this. And I have a little bit of an update for you, by the way. And so we fought for 2 years, fought Pelosi, and she blocked it twice last year and eventually could not anymore because we, believe it or not, had bipartisan support, something you don't hear about many times now in these days and times in D.C. And so it finally passed in November of this past year in the Jaime Zapata, Victor Avila Federal Officer and Employee Protection Act, which continues to give now more protection and to the men and women that serve abroad every day, protecting our homeland, not only if they get hurt or murdered or injured, but also assaulted or the family members as well. So very, very happy that we were able to accomplish that.
Yet you were not asked to be at the signing ceremony. That's not hyperbole. That's fact, isn't it?
Yeah, and so I get the call, not from the White House, but from the senators, Senator Cornyn that helped, and others saying, by the way, there will be a signing ceremony. Are you willing to come? I said, of course I am. I respect the office of the presidency. I will be there. And the invitation never came from the White House. I actually saw it streaming live from a hotel room where I was doing a speaking engagement. And I tell you, it hurt. It hurt not being there. A lot of people surrounding the president behind him as he signed this law. And I'm thinking the persons that should have been there, if not even me, should be the Zapata family, because it's their son that was killed in the line of duty, and they weren't invited as well.
And Victor, in your introduction, I mentioned that the weapons that were used against you and your partner, Jaime Sabata, were weapons that were traced to the Obama-Biden holder operation called Fast and Furious. Many people believe that statement is hyperbole. Well, okay. Is it hyperbole, Victor, or is that fact?
It's a fact. It's a fact. I have the documents to prove it, especially the ballistics reports from ATF that two of the weapons used in our attack were two weapons that were allowed to walk, as we called it, allowed to go into Mexico under the supervision of the federal government, ATF and others, not just ATF, but allowed to go into Mexico without any furtherance of investigation or contact or any. They just allowed them to go and into the hands of these criminal organizations, which have in fact killed thousands of people, and two U.S. federal agents, not just Agent Jaime Zapata, but Border Patrol Agent Brian Terry 2 months before our attack. And these weapons have been found in attacks in Benghazi, in France, all over the world. And this was a big operation, failed operation, that the Obama-Biden administration wanted as a platform, not just in Arizona where it originated, but throughout the United States, because of the Second Amendment. They hate weapons. They hate our Second Amendment rights. And I think ultimately that was their goal, to show what these weapons and the destruction, obviously in the wrong hands, you put them in the hands of these killers, that's what they're going to do, is kill. And if it wasn't for these two murders, this probably would continue going and happening to this day. The problem is we cannot bring it forth to a federal judge because Obama exerted executive privilege, which bans and blocks anyone trying to obtain any records for Operation Fast and Furious, and including our ambush as well.
Victor, could that have been why you weren't invited to that signing ceremony and the Sabata family was not invited? That the concern was that the whole issue of fast and furious weapons running operation by the Obama, Biden, Holder regime would be brought back to light? That the fact that the weapons, as you mentioned, were used in mass slayings in France and also in the Benghazi attack, could that have been the reason why?
Absolutely one of, and many, many reasons, but definitely one of the big reasons why we weren't invited. The other is the destruction of our border and this policy that they know that they're doing purposefully, and they know exactly how I feel about this. As you said in your opening, I'm a border security advocate, and I try to bring the awareness of what is happening in our southern border right now, and I will give you an update shortly, but they know where I stand. They know that I'm an American, a patriot, wanting to defend our homeland still to this day as a retired agent, but most importantly to protect the sovereignty of the United States, which I think we have been losing for a long time.
Victor, earlier today you sent me some videos of your recent trip at the border, and not at a port of entry, but out in the in the hitherlands. Educate our listeners on those videos and what you found upon your recent trip to the border.
Well, what I wanted to do is a lot of the concentration and the tension, if there is any, is down in the southern portion of Texas, which we call the Rio Grande Valley, the RGV, McAllen, Laredo, Eagle Pass, Texas, which there's tons and tons of people coming through and a lot of activity, not diminishing that area. But I also wanted to show people that I went to West Texas. I went to El Paso County, Hudspeth County, which is wide open. And I wanted to show, and I will, starting with you today, because I just got back 2 days ago, and saying, listen, it's not just that area down there. It's this area that, by the way, happens to be extremely dangerous. You saw the videos that I sent you. Thank you to the Hudspeth County Sheriff's Office for suiting me up, long gun, sidearm, bulletproof vest, to go down there to this very, very hot area where it's down in the levee, there's a heavy brush by the Rio Grande River, very little water on the river, where you have an enormous amount of traffic coming through there. Now, what kind of traffic? Yes, illegal immigration, but this area in particular is the criminal alien type of person that's coming into this country, bringing in drugs, bringing in the fentanyl, the methamphetamine, other drugs, marijuana, heroin, through these areas. While I was there, Border Patrol was tracking a group of 40 illegal aliens wearing camouflage. These are the individuals that do not want to be detected. These are the ones that are included sometimes in the gotaways that we talk about, where people are not being counted, that we don't know are entering our country illegally. 40, this is very, very rough terrain in the desert, mountainous terrain, very hot weather, and very dangerous. As soon as we hit that border, that levee, which, by the way, Border Patrol does not go down there. The Hudspeth County Sheriff, you saw how I was suited up. I thought we were just going to drive down and says, we cannot just go down there like that. You better suit up and protect ourselves, because you never know what they're pointing at us from the other side. And sure enough, as soon as we went down there, we hear the voices from the other side. There's not supposed to be anybody down there, by the way, Dr. Dave. There's not supposed to be any persons there. We found a wallet with a debit card and a condom in there. We found clothing. We found food, bottled waters, trash bags, where humans come through there. This is supposed to be a cattle area where there's not supposed to be any human activity, but there is. And as soon as we get down there, a young guy, I would say in his late teens, pops up in this makeshift shack on a roof with his binoculars looking at us. Immediately, we initially did not have sight of him, but he had sight of us. Until we retreated a little bit, did we see him. But that's how quickly these cartels act. They have the lookouts everywhere. They know exactly who is in their area and what they're doing. And so it was very different. It reminded me of my my law enforcement days of being down there. That this is not going away. As a matter of fact, it's even getting worse. Now you have these groups walking miles and miles north to Interstate 10. From that river to Interstate 10 is about close to 20 miles in this very rough terrain. I want people to understand this is not a straight shot. It is over mountains, mesquite brush. It's very, very rough. And sometimes they get lost, they get disoriented. But some of these illegal aliens then cross I-10 and they've been being hit by traffic as they try to cross this interstate with cars going 80, 85 miles an hour. And then they cross the interstate and head north to a highway that we call 62-180, which have both circumvented the U.S. Border Patrol checkpoint, and they get picked up north and go to the rest of the country. This is what's happening every day on the border. The drownings, the shootings, the smuggling, the trafficking. It is out of control down there. I'm telling you, it is the wild, wild west.
Victor, in the videos, you were there with the sheriff's department, as you mentioned. What are they saying? How do they go to work every day knowing that it's not only the Wild West, but nobody has their back?
No, my hats off goes off to the Hudspeth County Sheriff and Sheriff Arvin West. Was very, very kind to me. They're there basically now as Border Patrol backup, plain and simple. Now, they're still the police of that county, by the way. And so if you have a DUI, if you have a family violence call, guess what? The deputy is not available because he's down at the border helping Border Patrol because Border Patrol is understaffed. One of the stories they shared with me is that they're seeing a lot of U.S. citizen high school kids in that area going and helping the cartel by driving groups of illegal aliens up north to stash houses, getting paid about $700 a pop. I mean, this is the money is flowing everywhere, and they're attracting kids from high school, anyone and everyone that could help the cartel conduct their business down there. And the sheriff is just acting basically as backup to the Border Patrol because the Border Patrol doesn't have any more backup. Most of them that should be there are not there. They've been sent to the southern portion of Texas. And in some of these shifts, believe it or not, what I'm about to tell you, only have about 2 or 3 Border Patrol agents on shift to patrol a 100-mile area, which is ridiculous, right? It can't be done, so therefore the sheriff's departments come in to try to help out.
So, Victor, you know that border inside out for many years. You grew up in El Paso. You know the border. Did you ever anticipate it getting this bad?
Absolutely not. I mean, I had memories of going down there. I remember when I was down there of the SUVs crossing the river, driving through the river. It's very low. There's almost no water. SUVs driven by full of drugs. The backpackers. All of that is back and then some. It has been enhanced to I don't know how to describe it to a level that obviously I have never seen before. And the commingling of the human smuggling and drugs, that is something very big that didn't happen before, where the illegal aliens were illegal and they paid to get pushed across the border illegally. That was one thing. The drugs were another. You had backpackers and carriers to do that. Now you're seeing illegal alien groups carry 200 pounds of methamphetamine amongst them, fentanyl amongst them, as part of the deal that the cartel has made with them, whether they like it or not, because the cartel controls all that land. And by the way, that area of Hudspeth County, El Paso County, is a big war going on the other side between the Sinaloa cartel and the Juarez cartel. They're fighting very, very strongly for those routes to get their smuggling ventures through. And so I've never seen it this bad. I anticipate that it will get worse before it gets better. We lost soldiers rescuing people. We've lost, by the way, we're getting about a drowning a day. Children are drowning. Adults are drowning. It is chaos down there. And the Biden administration continues to refuse to pay attention to our own country, refuse to send the adequate funding and personnel to our own country and our own border, but will send billions to Ukraine without a blink of an eye. Yet we're under invasion down here.
And at the end of May, right, Title 42 is being removed, which is going to cause an even greater influx, correct?
That's right. May 23rd is a big day, and I'll tell you what's going on with Title 42. They're coming anyway. Title 42 is supposed to be enforced, and it's not being enforced right now. If it was enforced, we wouldn't have had 220,000 come in last month. But and these are actual encounters. What's happening here is that it's the messaging that this administration continues to send to the rest of the world, that whatever laws or whatever rules we have in this country of our own, we're not going to enforce. We're not going to follow. So come on over. And Title 42 is just another example of not enforcing immigration law, not enforcing our own asylum law, not enforcing remain in Mexico, which has been backed up by the U.S. Supreme Court. And so Title 42 they're saying, wait a minute, there was a group of illegal aliens that were being sent back this week while I was there through the port of entry into Juarez, Mexico, that they refused to walk back. They started fighting the CBP officers and ICE officers that were sending them back, saying, don't send us back. We don't want them back because Title 42 is going to be lifted anyway in a few weeks, so just leave us here. This is the type of mentality that you're giving them the permission to act this way, and therefore you're seeing them get more aggressive. This is something that Hudson County Sheriff and Border Patrol that I talked to down there have told me, that the aliens have become very aggressive as they encounter them, almost approaching them with a sense of entitlement that you must let me in.
Victor, educate our listeners on your book and your websites.
agentunderfirebook.com. You can find a link to my book there, and VictorAvilaSpeaks.com. You could hire me to come speak to one of your groups as I share my story and the latest of what's happening down here.
Victor, I'd like to thank you for your perseverance, your dedication, and your sacrifice. One thing we didn't mention is after you were near fatally wounded and your partner was fatally wounded, rather than be embraced and supported by the Obama-Biden regime, you and Jaime Sabata's family were pushed away